Hello, welcome to the 8th grade math standards practice. So the objective here is to learn to simplify numerical expressions involving positive exponents, rational numbers, as well as order of operations and properties of operations with real numbers. So this first problem is asking which is equivalent to 43 plus the quantity 17 minus 2 divided by 3. So here we have the acronym GEMDAS. As you know, G stands for grouping symbols, E for exponents, MD for multiplication and division. Whichever operation occurs first from left to right, that's what you're going to complete, as well as AS, which stands for addition and subtraction. You perform those operations in the order they appear from left to right. So let's go ahead and rewrite this problem so that way we can solve it. So we have 43 plus the quantity 17 minus 2. And that's divided by 3. So we're going to utilize this acronym here, okay? So we know that we have to perform operations within grouping symbols first. So that means we have to take care of the 17 minus 2. So let's bring everything else down. And 17 minus 2 is equal to 15. And bring down your divided by 3. So be careful with this step because we have addition and we have division. All right, but according to the order of operation rules, we have to perform multiplication or division before addition or subtraction. So that means we have division here, which we have to complete first. So 15 divided by 3 is equal to 5. Then you can add the 43 to that. And so that gives you 48, which is answer choice C. Okay, so let's move on to another problem here. Okay, so we have which is equivalent to 84 minus 0 times the quantity 2 plus 7 times 0.3. Okay, again, I'm going to rewrite this to make it easier. So let's go ahead and rewrite it. 84 minus 0 times the quantity 2 plus 7 times 0.3. Okay, again, we're going to perform operations within grouping symbols first, right? So let's bring everything else down. 84 minus 0 times the quantity, and we have 2 plus 7, which is equal to 9. And remember, parentheses denote multiplication. Okay, more on that in just a moment. Let's bring everything else down. Okay, so now we have 84 minus 0 times 9 times 0.3. So following our rules, and of course we do not have exponents here, we have multiplication and division. We have to perform that first from left to right before we can even deal with addition or subtraction, okay? So as you can see here, we have 84 minus 0, right? However, we have multiplication here. So we have 0 times 9. So let's go ahead and perform this multiplication first, okay? So it looks simple, however, a lot of people make mistakes with this. So we have 84 minus 0 times 9 is 0 times 0.3. Okay, so again, be careful with this, okay? Because we still have multiplication here. We have to perform multiplication before we can perform subtraction, okay? So 0 times 0.3 is simply 0, right? Because 0 times any number is equal to 0. Okay, so this is 0. And then we have 84 minus 0, which is equal to 84, which is answer choice B. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to another one here. So this asks, what is the value of 2 raised to the 4th power plus 22 divided by 2 plus 4 squared? Okay, so let's go ahead and rewrite this. All right, so we have 2 raised to the 4th power plus 22 divided by 2 plus 4 squared. Ooh, I meant to put a 2 there, not a 1. So that's divided by 2 plus 4 squared here. So let's follow our order of operations. So this time we do not have anything within grouping symbols. We do have exponents to perform here. So we have 2 sets. We have 2 raised to the 4th power as well as 4 squared. So let's work with 2 raised to the 4th power. So we know that this base of 2 has to be multiplied to itself 4 times because the exponent of 4 tells us to do so, right? So that's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. All right, and so that's equal to 16. Bring everything else down. And then we're going to solve 4 squared, which is 4 times 4, which is equal to 16. Okay, again, perform your order of operations here. So we have exponents solved here. Next, we have multiplication or division, whichever occurs first from left to right. So let's take a look here. So we have 22 divided by 2. So that's what we're going to perform next. Okay, so let's bring everything else down. So we have 16. And 22 divided by 2 is 11. Plus 16. Okay, so now we can perform addition, right? That's all we have left. So we have 16 plus 11. So 6 plus 1 is 7. 1 plus 1 is 2. Add 16 to that. So that's 37, 38, 9, 40, 41, 42, 43. So that's answer choice A. Okay, so as long as you follow the order of operations, this is not that difficult, okay? So always double check, make sure you're following the steps methodically, okay? So let's go over another problem here. Okay, so we have, what is the value of 4 plus 4 times the quantity 3 cubed minus 7 squared? Okay, so let's go ahead and rewrite this as usual. So we have 4 plus 4, times the quantity 3 cubed minus 7, and that's squared. All right, so we're going to perform operations within the grouping symbols first, okay? But within these grouping symbols, we also have 3 cubed minus 7. All right, so let's work with this here. So let's bring everything down. So we have 4 plus 4. Okay, and let's work this out. So we have 3 cubed, right? So we have operations to perform within the grouping symbols, specifically exponents first, okay? So we have to take and multiply this 3 times, right? Because the exponent of 3 tells us to multiply the base 3 times. So that's 3 times 3 times 3, which is equal to 27. Bring down your minus 7, close that up, and you have your squared here. And let's continue on. We still have operations within the grouping symbols. So this time we are subtracting 7 from 27 minus 7, okay? Or we're taking 7 from 27. So we have 4 plus 4 times 27 minus 7 is equal to 20. I'm going to leave this 20 in parentheses simply because I'm squaring that and that helps me see what I'm doing. All right, and so now we're finished performing operations within the grouping symbols. We've completed the exponents that were in there, and let's go ahead and continue on. So this time we still have, I actually should not have erased the, or crossed out the E, because we still have this 20 that's raised to the 2nd power. So we're going to perform that next. Okay, so we have 4 plus 4, and then we have 20 squared, or 20 raised to the second power. So that's equal to 400. Okay, and remember we are enclosing this in parentheses because parentheses do denote multiplication, okay? Okay, so next we have multiplication and division. We perform that in the order that it appears from left to right. So remember we have parentheses here which denotes multiplication. So we're taking and we're multiplying 4 times 400. All right, so 4 times 4 we know is 16, and then we add on the 2 zeros, and that's 1600. So we have 1600, and we have to add 4 to that. So that leaves us with 1604, all right, or 1604, which is answer choice D. So let's move on to another one. Okay, so this question asks, which is equivalent to -5 plus 7 times the quantity 16 divided by 4 squared? All right, so let's go ahead and rewrite this as we normally would. So we have -5 plus 7 times the quantity 16 divided by 4, and that is squared. Okay, so we're going to perform operations within the grouping symbols first. Okay, so let's bring everything else down. So we have -5 plus 7. And then we have 16 divided by 4, which is equal to 4. And that's squared. Next, we have exponents. So let's bring everything else down. We have -5 plus 7 times 4 squared, and that's simply 4 times 4, which is 16. I'm going to place parentheses around this because we are multiplying still, because we have this 7 here. And now we have MD, which is multiplication and division, whichever operation occurs first from left to right. So we do have multiplication here. We have 7 times 16. Let me go ahead and point that out. It's right here, 7 times 16, which is equal to 112. All right, and we still have our -5 out here. So we have -5 plus 112, or you can look at this as saying 112 minus 5, and that's equal to 107, which is answer choice C. All right, so let's move on to another one. Okay, so we have to simplify A plus B times C squared divided by D if A equals -2, B equals -4, C equals 5, and D equals -4. Okay, so we're going to take a step-by-step approach here as usual. And since we're given these values, I'm just going to rewrite this with the given values, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So we see that A is -2 plus B times C, and we have B is equal to -4 times, and remember the B, C is together, so it's multiplication. So when you see the variables next to each other like that, it indicates multiplication. So C is 5. Okay, don't forget about the exponent of 2. And then this is over D, which is -4. Okay, so now what we're going to do is work with grouping symbols. So here we have multiplication. So let's bring everything else down. So we have -2 plus -4 times 5 is -20. Don't forget about the exponent of 2, and that's over -4. Okay, so remember, we're still working with grouping symbols because we have this horizontal bar, which also indicates some type of grouping symbol. So let's go ahead and work with what's in the numerator first, which is negative 20 squared, which is our exponent. Okay, so negative 20 multiplied to itself twice is simply 400, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So we'll place 400 here over negative 4. And let's just bring everything else down so we don't forget about it. So now we still have 400 divided by negative 4, which we can still treat as a grouping symbol. All right, or you can just look at it and say that this is division, because remember, the order of operation tells us that we have to perform multiplication or division, whichever occurs first from left to right. So this, you can look at this as being a division problem here. So 400 divided by negative 4, and that's equal to negative 100. So I'll bring everything else down. We have negative 2 plus negative 100. Okay, and so we're adding two negative numbers together, meaning that the answer is going to be more negative than it already is, that you see right here, right? So we're adding negative 2 and negative 100 together, which gives you negative 102. So the answer is answer choice D. So let's move on to some more problems. So here we need to evaluate 3 times y cubed minus 4 times y squared plus 8 if y equals negative 2. All right, so wherever we see a y, we must place a negative 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that here. And this is cubed minus 4 times negative 2 squared plus 8. All right, and let's place in the negative 2 here and here. Okay, so although we do not have operations to perform within the grouping symbols itself, specifically parentheses, we can move on to exponents. Okay, so here we have this negative 2 raised to the power of 3. So since this 3 is odd powered, then that means the result is going to be negative. All right, because we're taking a negative number and raising it to the power of 3, and this power of 3, like I said, is odd. So this is 3 times negative 8 minus 4 times, and then we have this negative 2 raised to the power of 2, so this is even powered exponent. So that means the result is positive. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Bring down your plus 8. Okay, so next we need to perform multiplication and division in the order they appear first from left to right. So here we have 3 times negative 8. We also have negative 4 times positive 4. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have 3 times negative 8, which is negative 24. Negative 4 times positive 4 is negative 16. Bring down your plus 8. Now we have addition and subtraction. So remember, we have to perform those operations in the order they appear from left to right, so whichever comes first. So we have negative 4 minus 16, so that is negative 40 plus 8. So your result here is negative 32. Answer choice A. All right, so let's move on to another problem. So here we are told to evaluate n raised to the 4th power plus n cubed minus n squared if n equals negative 2. All right, so let's go ahead and wherever we see n, we're going to place negative 2. All right, so let's do that. Raised to the 4th power. That's negative 2 raised to the 3rd power minus negative 2 squared. Okay, again, we do not have operations to perform within the parentheses. We move on to exponents. So here we have a negative number being raised to an even power. So that means this is going to be even. So negative 2 multiplied to itself 4 times is equal to positive 16. Plus, and then we have negative 2 raised to the power 3. So this is negative 8. Minus, and we have negative 2 raised to the power of 2, which is positive 4. Okay, so now let's evaluate this. So here we have this plus minus. So really this is minus, all right? So this is 16 minus 8. Minus 4. All right, so we are performing addition and subtraction since we do not have multiplication or division, right? So of course we go in order. So we have 16 minus 8, which is 8, minus 4, and your answer is positive 4. So let's move on to another problem. So here we need to solve 3 times x plus the square root of y to the 4th power when x equals 2 and y equals negative 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and rewrite this. And we have x at 2 plus the square root, and the y is at negative 3. And it's crucial that you place this negative 3 in parentheses, okay? And that's raised to the 4th power. And if you don't place the negative 3 in parentheses, you're going to get an undefined answer, okay? So that means anything that's in parentheses is going to be raised to the 4th power. So this whole thing is raised to the 4th power, okay? So now let's perform our order of operations here. Here we have grouping symbols. So this square root you can treat as a grouping symbol, okay? So let's perform the operation within that. And specifically we have exponents. So we're taking this negative 3 and we're raising it to the 4th power. So let's bring everything else down. So we have 3 times 2 plus, and we have the square root of negative 3 raised to the 4th power. So this is actually negative 3 multiplied to itself 4 times. So remember, the result is going to be positive because this is an even powered exponent. So this is actually 81. All right, so next we're going to complete this square root of 81, because remember, the square root of 81 or the square root can be treated as a grouping symbol. So let's bring everything else down. And the square root of 81 is 9. So now we can perform multiplication, because remember, it comes before addition. So we take and multiply 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 9. And your result here is 15. Okay. So let's go over one last example. Okay, so for this last problem, we must simplify 2 times negative 2 times 5 divided by 9 minus 4 times 1 raised to the 3rd power. And so notice that we have grouping symbols, specifically parentheses here. So let's perform the operations within the grouping symbols, starting with the numerator, then the denominator. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite this like so. Okay, so remember, multiplication is commutative, so it doesn't matter in which order that you multiply. So I'll just take and multiply 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4, times 5. And this is over 9 minus, and that 4 times 1 is simply 4. All right, so let's go ahead and perform negative 4 times 5, which is negative 20, over 9 minus 4, which is 5. And this is raised to the third power. So now we still have to perform division within this grouping symbol, right? So that means negative 20 divided by 5 is negative 4. So this is negative 4 raised to the third power. And so we have this negative number being raised to an odd power, meaning that our result is negative. So that is negative 64. Okay, so hopefully this lesson was helpful to you, and I look forward to working with you in an upcoming lesson. Take care.